All right, you guys, welcome back to another TV series about aliens, pandemics, and changing your DNA. The series we're going to cover today is called Threshold from the early 2000s. But before we get into the decode, I thought that this breaking news story dovetailed pretty well with what we're going to talk about today with the TV series. Because they are now saying that something in the genetics of young people, in other words, a change in their DNA, is the cause of LGBTQ tendencies and bisexuality. What is changing is the question. But I believe this has been orchestrated. Now, I knew that DNA had something to do with this because I grew up in the 80s. And all throughout middle school and high school, maybe half of 1% of the kids in school were gay. Everybody knew who they were. They were nice to them. They weren't allowed to be bullied or anything like that. But everybody knew who they were. And those very same students are still gay to this day. And all the rest of the heterosexual students, the 99.5%, are still heterosexual to this day. In other words, very few of my heterosexual peers came out as gay later in life, when it was more accepted universally. Because I hear this excuse that people propose that, they say many more people were really gay, but they simply kept it hidden. Well, no, that didn't happen at my school. They stayed heterosexual or they stayed gay throughout life. Now, of course, there were a few here and there, but it was not the rule. It was definitely the exception. So, what changed in the 1980s and 90s? How did 1 in 1,000 students turn into 1 in 4? 1 in 4 high school students now identifies as LGBTQ. God help us. You guys, if 1 in 4 children are gay or bisexual, this will have a direct impact on birth rates. And they know it, and nobody's talking about it. Oh, Casey, well, they have in vitro fertilization, and many gay couples want to have children. What percentage of gay couples are going to have children? Much lower rates than heterosexual couples. So again, this will have a direct impact on the birth rate. In vitro fertilization costs a lot more money, which a lot of people don't have. And so to say that there will be just as many babies born with a 1 in 4 LGBTQ rate is simply not living in reality. Why isn't the mainstream media talking about this? Why aren't the alarm bells ringing? Now, something is changing these children's DNA for this rate to have jumped so high. And they're actually acknowledging this. Scientists discover genetic underpinnings of bisexuality. Now, I believe this has to do with some kind of an injection, and that's about all I can say. But from birth, something has changed, and even in some instances before birth. Let's read a little bit about this. For the first time, scientists have identified genetic variations associated with human bisexual behavior. Oh, you think? And found that these markers are linked to risk-taking and having more offspring when they are carried by heterosexual men. This professor here, George Zhang, a professor at the University of Michigan, told AFP it helped answer the long-standing evolutionary puzzle. Oh, it just happened naturally. Of why natural selection was not eliminated. Has not eliminated the genetics underpinning attraction within the same sex. The study, published Wednesday in Science Advances, was based on data from more than 450,000 people of European descent who signed up for some kind of biobank. Oh boy. a long-term genomics project that has proven a major boon for health research. Now, if you compare humans to the animal kingdom, if 1 in 4 animals ended up being gay, their species would not survive. And every scientist knows this. And this is why you don't get high homosexuality rates with animals, because they would go extinct. So something is different about humans. And about the only thing I can think of is things being poked inside of us. God said he had to cut those days short, otherwise there would be no flesh left. Is this what's happening? So they've identified some kind of biomarker that they are saying is now associated with these tendencies. Now, what all this means for morality, look, I'm not God. I don't know how God is going to handle all this. But it just breaks my heart that we've allowed all this to happen. Let me go back into the chat. And I do know there's a breaking story that everybody's talking about, the alien sighting at the Miami Mall. And I don't always cover the most popular stories that are breaking, just because so many other channels are already saturating your guys' feeds with deep dives and, you know, breaking the whole situation down. You don't really need my expertise on that. That's not really my forte. But I can give you an opinion of the situation. Now, I haven't dived too deep into the situation, but here's some footage for those of you that have not heard about this. Where'd it go? Where is my... Oh, boy. Oh, here it is. Apparently, they're saying that from this helicopter view, they saw a 10-foot tall walking creature. Now, this is all over social media. It's going viral. They're basically saying that there was some big, like, gang fight with all these young people that were at the mall, and apparently sticks were being used. There were no like weapons, but it was all like sticks, which is just all very strange to me. Like, who brings sticks to a mall? I mean, what, do they have a metal detector in front of the mall to get in the mall? I mean, all of this just stinks to high heaven. But the viral headline is that an 8 to 10 foot alien was outside the mall, and this huge police presence showed up. Gosh, some estimates up to 700 police officers. This is more police officers than showed up to the Dallas shooting. And this was just for teens with sticks and things. So, a lot of people are very suspicious about this event, and I'm suspicious too, but let me give you my thoughts on this. I do believe that they have the ability to cover things up. In some reports, they were trying to say that this figure that was caught from the air, they're trying to say that it was actually 3 people all walking in the same exact speed, in the same cadence, and it was actually 3 people, not an alien. So, I do believe that that could have been covered up. But here's the thing. I think this is some kind of psychological operation. You guys, children and young people, young adults, they do everything through social media. So to say that social media didn't pick up on the chatter of this emerging event is just silly. Of course, they knew that violence was assembling. If we take the news at their word that this was some huge gang fight in the mall, then social media would have picked up on this, right? And they would have all been talking to each other saying, bring your sticks. Or there could have been some gang standoff where they were talking to each other about all their friends they were going to have come and show up. Now, I don't take the media at their word, so I don't even know if this really was a gang fight. But this is what they're telling us, right? I mean, you guys, we're to the point with algorithms that I can't even say certain things on a live show. I can't say certain words. I can't talk about certain countries without the algorithms immediately in real time putting my video under a microscope. So Why would a social media platform be so obsessed with someone's peaceful, free thoughts, which is like on this channel, when an actual violent situation was starting to organize? And they do nothing about that, but then put people like us under a microscope. So, again, young people get on social media, they brag, they talk about, they probably were all talking about bringing sticks and weapons to this mall for a gang fight. And yet, the police show up after the fact with this huge police presence. So, there's a whole lot going on with this story. Everybody's talking about it. Those are my thoughts on it. So, but what's up with this sighting? Well, again, this is the footage from the helicopter. There's this blurry, intentionally ambiguous and low resolution image walking across the front of these steps. And until I see something conclusive, it really makes no sense for me to speculate on what exactly this is. But it's like everything else, isn't it? Everything that we look at now seems to be inconclusive. That's the theme. Intentionally ambiguous, inconclusive, almost but nothing. Just like the Epstein list that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show today. They bring back all these salacious details and release all these people, and then at the end of the article it's, oh, but no wrongdoing was found. And this is a psychological operation. When there's no teeth to anything, when prominent people never go to jail, and it's all just this drama and gossip and back and forth, that's when you finally realize what's going on. This is all prepackaged news with no actionable intelligence, no teeth, no consequences. It's just all psychological operations. Let me check in with you guys, and we're going to get into some of these clips from the early 2000s TV show called Threshold. And then afterwards, we'll get caught up on some coffee talk headlines. We're going to get into the billionaires named in Epstein's list and a few other things. So, what's this Threshold about? What is it about? It's about an alien contact on Earth and how a team of scientists are assembled to try to do damage control because this alien is spreading across the Earth, except the team finds that they themselves have been infected with this agent, and it starts to change their DNA. Let's take a look at this. Threshold.
We have to acknowledge the very real possibility of a global pandemic involving a highly pathogenic SARS-like virus.
What the hell did she just say?
My job is to scare you and hopefully prepare you for the worst imaginable catastrophe. Stage 1, the long-term post-nuclear radiation effect. Stage 3, preventing widespread panic. All right, any questions?
What's it saying?
So that was, of course, Carla. I don't know what her last name is. Anyway, she's a prominent actress in Hollywood, and she's talking about global pandemics in the early 2000s and basically some kind of a way for them to do damage control if these things happen. She's, I guess, a disaster specialist, I guess is the way they depict her in the series, and she's called upon to deal with this first contact situation with aliens.
What's it saying?
It's a graphic representation of an equation that describes a DNA molecule.
Wait, what the hell is this?
It's a spike protein.
Come here, Lucas. So have you figured out what we're looking at?
Things get a little bit bizarre.
Triple helix.
I can't even imagine what life based on a triple helix would look like.
Triple helix DNA. Now, they then realized that the way that the DNA was changed was with a frequency, a sound frequency. Oh, just everything we've been talking about.
Here, now, our DNA, the DNA of every life form on Earth is in the shape of
A double helix.
double helix.
Maybe we're about to find out.
Huh. Whatever it is, it can't be good for the human race.
Something evoked frighteningly rapid cellular change in every living thing on this boat. This is a sample of blood taken from our survivor I found the same structural changes in the corpses and in the rats and roaches, for that matter. Not unlike the work of a viral agent.
Like cancer, but more directed in its purpose.
Exactly.
The ship's clean. We didn't find any pathogens.
I'm down with Fenway. Someone's trying to unzip our DNA strands and reassemble them.
So, what? We're talking about some kind of bioforming?
Now, Fenway, you said the signal was modifying human DNA. We need more specifics.
So then they realize they narrow all this down to a cell phone frequency, which of course is the 5G, the millimeter waves.
I need you to break that signal down into its mathematical components. Look for any pattern or form of communication. Ramsey, you can help him out.
Yeah, like, can the process be reversed? Can we inoculate ourselves against it?
If you want me to figure out how this bioforming works, I'm going to need a live specimen.
How come this didn't happen to all the crewmen?
Something unique in his DNA, or maybe he was just standing in the wrong place.
And the blood pattern I found on the back.
He was found holding a cell phone. Maybe that was it.
I mean, aren't we going to be in proximity of the signal?
It's a subharmonic.
Next, they test the frequency, and they call it a subharmonic. And they're basically trying to attract the infected to one spot with this subharmonic frequency. In other words, mind control whatever infected alien people there are out there to come to a certain spot so they could trap them and study them. Does all of this sound familiar? Remember the movie Cell? And they were all like walking around the cell phone tower in like a trance. Well, the very same thing happens in this TV series. The infected walk aimlessly in a circle.
We'll be fine.
And a vintage Hohner harmonica 542 golden melody with its original case.
So this scientist here, he was like, they're pretty much trapped there. The government says, you can't go home. You have to, everything's top secret. And they say, okay, we'll give you anything you need to figure this thing out. So this guy asks for a harmonica, as you just heard him. And so it confirms that this is about harmonics.
I always wondered what doctors carry in their little black bags. I mean, aren't we going to be in proximity of the signal?
It's a subharmonic. We'll be fine.
So this is all about millimeter wave frequency, somatics, and how that affects human behavior. So as they're testing this subharmonic frequency, they realize that they've inadvertently attracted humans. What's weird is that these humans are uninfected, are supposed to be uninfected, and look at all the towers behind them. Watch.
We're still broadcasting. You might want to ixnay on the ignal say.
I told you I don't know why I'm here. I went out for a drive and I ended up in this place.
What are they doing here?
Look, we were operating under the assumption that our signal fragment would only draw in our missing crew members, but obviously it had some sort of effect on the general population as well. Look,
Based on the preliminary DNA sequencing we've been running, I'm not detecting any cellular mutations.
But there's got to be tens of thousands of people living in that area. Why didn't they all show up? Why just these 106?
a mutated Charlie tuna could end up on any of our plates.
A good point, Lucas, but we need to prioritize infected humans first.
So then this next part is telling. The frequencies infecting animals as well, which seems to be happening right now.
I can only imagine how the signal affected marine life in the area.
Well, don't bother. It wasn't Flipper that went all postal in the taco dive.
So we've all seen the orca attacks. Orcas acting really weird. That's one example of recent events, recent activities in the animal kingdom that seem to suggest that something has changed. Now, that's pretty much it so far. This is the first 3 episodes of the TV series Threshold. I'll stay on this. It's only 1 season, 13 episodes, so I will finish this up, probably likely over the next day or two. Well, let's get into some of these headlines today. Well, if you haven't heard by now, the Epstein list has been released. And of course, according to them, it's a big giant nothing sandwich. So we're supposed to believe that all these people hung out with Epstein and none of the millionaires and billionaires did anything wrong. That's what we're supposed to believe. Not one of them touched an underage girl ever, never. You guys, this is a complete travesty of justice. It's the biggest cover-up in United States history. Here's the biggest names of Jeffrey Epstein's list, from Hollywood stars to politicians. And they literally go through all the names: Leonardo DiCaprio, Bruce Willis, Kate Blanchett. And literally they say in the article that no wrongdoing, nothing was done wrong. And we're supposed to believe this. Michael Jackson, Kate Blanchett, Bruce Willis. Nobody did anything wrong. David Copperfield, Bill Clinton, and of course, Donald Trump. And who else do they list in here? I just want to make sure I get most of the names. Prince Andrew, of course. Clinton and Trump named in Jeffrey Epstein documents. No wrongdoing alleged. So what was the whole purpose of releasing the documents if nobody did anything wrong? Then they released a second group of documents, and I think there's even a third. And then they start seeding in all these details that nobody really needs to know about the activities that went on. They call them massages, but then they don't give, any detail as to what that was really all about. And nobody did anything wrong. It was just a bunch of massages. Here's another article here out of the Daily News. Who accused of what in the Jeffrey Epstein court documents? And once again, nobody did anything wrong. Now, here's the cover-up. This was a blackmail operation going all the way to the top of government. And it is most definitely possible that our national security was compromised. How does that happen? Well, you blackmail somebody and then you tell them you will do this and you will do that, so that some other country or some other person's agenda is being enacted instead of the will of the American people. And none of that is addressed here, because they're saying nobody did anything wrong. So they're not even acknowledging the blackmail operation anymore. This is one giant cover-up. They're whitewashing this entire situation. Unbelievable. In fact, no additional people are going to jail because of this, that we know of anyway. So, weird times, you guys, weird times. No wrongdoing is the theme. Now, I'm not going to read through all this because it's just a bunch of nonsense. But let's get into some of these other headlines today. Did you know that manhunts are still underway to find those who went into the crapper hole? Yes, they are. They're still looking for people. Here we are, years later, 3 years. And yesterday, I guess, was the anniversary. And still, nobody has tried, well, one person allegedly tried, Tucker Carlson, to put together a defense fund for these people. Look, we all know that not every person threw a punch or tried to break down a barricade or a barrier. So, we all know that right-leaning people should be standing up for these people that are getting thrown in jail. They should at least have representation. they should at least be able to pay for a good attorney to help them get out of the situation they're in. Where is the legal defense fund? Well, apparently, I guess, from what I've heard, now I haven't looked into this, but they're saying that Tucker Carlson tried to put together some kind of GoFundMe, and it was like confiscated by the United States government or something like that. What did you guys hear about that? I'm curious to hear what you guys have heard. I mean, we could look it up online, but I'm sure some of you know what happened with that. And I believe that was all just a psychological operation. They said, hey, Tucker, pretend like you're going to, raise money for these people, and then we'll take it all away. And then, that'll be it. Now we can just throw them all in jail. Another honey trap. What happened to all those people's money? I wonder if they got it back. Or just got confiscated. Who knows? So, yeah, Pamela, they're saying, oh, if Trump gets elected, he'll get him out of jail. Well, why would he have to wait? And isn't it convenient that it happened at the end of his presidency so that he could do absolutely nothing about it? I guarantee you, even if he did get reelected, and he will not, on day one, exonerate these people, because he could easily do it. He could easily just write, what do you call it? What do they call it when you forgive a sentence? He could give them immunity, right? In fact, you know what he could be saying right now? If he was a real American, he could be saying, hey, part of my election campaign, I'm going to exonerate every single person put in jail from the crapper hole, right? Wouldn't he say that? I mean, wouldn't you say that if you were him? Why isn't he saying that? He should be able to say that, shouldn't he? And guess what? A lot of people would vote for him. They'd be like, yeah, let them all out of jail. But he won't, because he doesn't want to. Thanks for the, it's pardon. He could have pardoned them. So, look, when you break this all down, you got to look at what people's actions are, where the rubber hits the road. He could have easily said, hey, I'm pardoning on day one. I'm pardoning every single person that was thrown in jail. And even that wouldn't make me trust him, but it would go a long way, wouldn't it? So, yes, Trump can afford to pay their defense with his pocket change. Exactly. And he won't do it. Instead, he keeps raising money for himself with the NFT trading cards and all that, and begging people for money by sending out all these emails every single day. For some reason, I don't get those emails anymore, and I don't know why, but I used to get them like every week. I would get Trump emails from the Trump campaign begging for donations. Maybe they heard me running my mouth on here, criticizing him for doing that. I don't know. But, yes, he didn't even pardon Assange. Correct. So, the manhunts are still underway, and the honey trap continues. And now they're threatening, multiple states are threatening to throw Trump off the ballot, even more than before. And again, that's just part of the honey trap, you guys. It's just to draw out the people who are upset about this. They want you to cross the line. They want you to get angry about it. Illinois and Massachusetts voters seek to take Trump off the ballot. They want to black bag you. They want to throw you in jail under insurrection laws, under interfering with elections. Okay? Because all it takes is you going up to a courthouse. They'll say that's insurrection, or you saying something about threatening somebody. That's insurrection. You're interfering with the process. And that's what they're hoping that people will do so they can scoop them up. So don't fall for it. Okay? Groups of voters from Illinois and Massachusetts filed motions to remove Donald Trump from the ballot, adding to the list of states where the former president faces a challenge to his candidacy under the 14th Amendment so-called insurrectionist ban. In Illinois, the challenge filed in conjunction with the liberal advocacy group Free Speech for People asks the Illinois Board of Elections to hold a hearing on the matter and bar Trump from appearing on both the primary and general election ballots. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. There'll probably be a handful of other states that will talk about this. The Supreme Court will rule on it. Trump will be added back to the ballots. Then the left will get all angry and say that's because he selected the Supreme Court. And so they're going to say that's why he got added to the ballot, and all this will just wash over. And he'll still get the presidency. That's what I think's going to happen. I don't know that, but that's what I think's going to happen. Because they're saying now, Supreme Court agrees to quickly decide whether Trump can be kept off the ballot. So remember, they thought that maybe this was going to go slow and it was going to happen after the election and there would be no ruling made and then he would be able to just stay on the ballots. But they're saying, the Supreme Court is now saying it will decide the question of whether the 14th Amendment could be used to block Trump from appearing on the state ballots. And they're going to do that within the next couple weeks here. So I'll keep you guys posted on that as well. Wow, so that's pretty much the headlines and threshold. And again, I'll get back into the series. I'm going to work on the garage door today a little bit. Scott's coming over. We got one garage door in. My phone, my extra phone should be here any day, and I'll be able to do more Honey Milk Ranch stuff again for you guys. So that will be cool. Look, they've got us they had us stuck on 666. Please stop that, YouTube. Very annoying. I mean, look, they shouldn't even allow the number of viewers to even land on 666, right? You know how, like, they don't have 13th floors in buildings, in some buildings, because of, superstition? Why would you even allow a counter to land on 666? This makes no sense to me, unless it's intentional. Wow. All right, I'm in the chat, you guys. What's up? Good morning. Hope you guys had a good day yesterday. But yeah, I've got this crazy squirrel right outside my window, and he's just popping his tail. Pop, pop, pop. And then he's like, I think he's kind of looking in the window. But the squirrel is massive. He's the size of a small cat. And I'm like, are squirrels clean meat? There's literally thousands of squirrels around my house. I see them every day. I don't know what they're eating. I think they're digging around, looking for nuts that they buried or whatever. All around the property. In an end of the world situation, I would never run out of food. You could take 2 squirrels a day and 500 more would take their place. You'd never be hungry. It's just funny. Like, he's just up there and he's in this, and it's not even a big tree. It's like a little tree. It's probably about 15 feet tall, right in front of my window. And he was just in the tree. Big old fat squirrel. Anyway. Yeah, you guys are getting unsubscribed. Yeah, YouTube does that. So this is why we're kind of stuck where we're at. But it's okay. The people that need to see it are seeing it. I have faith that God will work everything out as he always does. Yeah, the squirrels have gone squirrely. Rock says he ate squirrel growing up. Yeah, a lot of people did. In the South, it's common. Joe says tree rats. Better than rabbit, huh? Interesting. Now, I had a pet rabbit. Not a pet rabbit, but a resident rabbit. And for those of you that have seen the property and are familiar with the Honey Milk Ranch videos, there's that little piece of land right inside the circle of my driveway, because the driveway comes in and then it goes out. And there's there's a little piece of land with some brush in it and a few trees. Well, apparently there was a resident rabbit that lived in those bushes for pretty much the most of the warmer part of earlier this year. And yeah, and this rabbit would pop out, and run around, and it was a cute little rabbit. And I'd go out to check the mail or bring the trash can in, and I'd see him in there in the bushes. And he thought I couldn't see him, but I could see him. So there's all kinds of wildlife out here. All right. You guys are funny. All right, you guys. Well, I guess I'm going to pop off of here. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, likely, with some more of this Threshold series. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care.